Prosecutors released new documents that reveal blood was found in the salon where Cummings worked with her suspected killer.
Monday, May 14th, we received a report of a missing person, Joleen Rebecca Cummings, age 34, from her mother, Ann Johnson.
Welcome to Deep Crime Unveiled, where we explore one of the most twisted and unsettling criminal cases in recent history, the disappearance of Joleen Cummings. In 2018, this Florida mother vanished without a trace.
To the Kessler Island landfill in South Georgia for evidence in the disappearance of Joleen Cummings will come to an end.
And all eyes turned to her coworker, Kimberly Kessler. But Kessler's story was far from ordinary. With 17 different aliases and a history of bizarre behavior, she became the prime suspect.
Life in prison, that's the mandatory punishment that Kimberly Kessler faces tomorrow afternoon when she's sentenced for the murder of her co-worker, Joleen Cummings.
Join us as we unravel the mystery that led to her conviction, despite the body never being found. Bizarre case of Kimberly Kessler and Joleen Cummings. The disappearance of Joleen Cummings in 2018 shook the small community of Fernandina Beach, Florida. The case took an even more chilling turn when her co-worker, Kimberly Kessler, became the prime suspect. What seemed like a missing persons investigation unraveled into a disturbing murder mystery involving a suspect with multiple aliases, erratic behavior, and a complex past. Although Joleen's body has never been found, Kimberly Kessler was convicted of her murder in 2021. This video will explore the case's twists and turns, examining Kessler's dark history, the investigation, and her ultimate conviction. Kimberly Kessler's past, a life of lies and aliases. Before meeting Joleen Cummings, Kimberly Kessler had lived a life that can only be described as a mystery itself. Born in Butler, Pennsylvania, she vanished in 2004, leaving her family with no answers. For years, Kessler lived under at least 17 different aliases, assuming new identities and moving from state to state. Her background became even more disturbing when it was revealed that she had a history of mental health issues, had been on the run from her past, and had taken extraordinary measures to conceal her identity. In her years of evasion, Kessler had worked a series of jobs, eventually settling in Florida under the name Jennifer Seibert. This was the identity she used when she began working at Tangle's hair salon, the same place Joleen Cummings worked. To those around her, Kessler was strange and distant, often keeping to herself and revealing little about her personal life. Even with all these red flags, nobody anticipated the dark turn her story would take. Joleen Cummings, a loving mother who vanished. Joleen Cummings was a 34-year-old mother of three, described by her family and friends as a kind, loving, and hardworking woman. She was balancing her career as a hairstylist with raising her children, and though life had its challenges, Joleen provided for her family. On May 12, 2018, after working a long shift at Tangle's hair salon, she was expected to pick up her children for Mother's Day weekend, but she never showed up. Her sudden disappearance sent shockwaves through the community. And when her SUV was found abandoned a few days later, fears grew that something far more sinister had happened. The last person to see Joleen alive was Kimberly Kessler. The two had worked together that Saturday, and while initial speculation pointed to other possibilities, it soon became clear that Kessler knew more than she was letting on. Joleen's family clung to hope, but as days passed, it became increasingly evident that this was no longer a search for a missing person, but a murder investigation.
Found the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment.
The investigation, from missing person to murder case. When Joleen Cummings disappeared, local law enforcement launched an intensive investigation to find her. Their attention quickly turned to Kimberly Kessler after reviewing surveillance footage that showed Kessler driving Joleen's SUV in the days after her disappearance. This discovery immediately raised suspicions, and Kessler's behavior became more erratic. She was arrested soon after, and investigators, began to uncover a trail of damning evidence that pointed to foul play. A search of the Tangles hair salon revealed blood evidence, and forensic teams discovered more incriminating material inside Kessler's personal storage unit. Additionally, investigators found that Kessler had made several disturbing internet searches, including how to clean up a crime scene, hide a body, and evade law enforcement. All signs pointed to Kessler's involvement in Joleen's disappearance, even though her body had yet to be found. The growing mountain of circumstantial and forensic evidence left little doubt in investigators' minds that Kessler was responsible for Joleen's murder.
Joleen was a workaholic, just trying to make a living to support her children.
Kessler's bizarre behavior after the arrest. After Kimberly Kessler was arrested, her behavior only added to the intrigue and bizarre nature of the case. During questioning, Kessler repeatedly gave conflicting stories about her identity and refused to cooperate with authorities. In a series of strange actions, she attempted to change her appearance, went on a hunger strike, and made outlandish claims about being persecuted. Kessler was charged with first-degree murder, and her behavior during the trial would only further cement her notoriety as a deeply troubled individual. Kessler's courtroom antics became headline news, as she frequently interrupted proceedings with bizarre outbursts and insisted that she was not Kimberly Kessler. At one point, she went so far as to claim that she was being tortured in jail, leading to delays in the trial. Despite these distractions, the prosecution remained focused, presenting compelling evidence that showed Kessler's involvement in Joleen's disappearance and murder. The trial, a battle for justice. Kessler's trial began in 2021, and it was as unusual as the rest of the case. Her defense team tried to argue that she was mentally unfit to stand trial, but after extensive psychological evaluations, the court determined that she was competent to face the charges.
It's funny that St. John's didn't tell you. When you run my fingerprints through, they come up as Kimberly Lee Kessler. That's about it. So I would prefer to be called Kim.
The prosecution presented a strong case, laying out the timeline of events, the surveillance footage, forensic evidence, and Kessler's internet searches that all pointed to her guilt. Perhaps one of the most haunting aspects of the trial was the absence of Joleen's body. Despite the lack of a physical body, the prosecution was able to build a convincing case based on the blood evidence found at the salon and the incriminating actions of Kessler in the days following Joleen's disappearance. The jury ultimately found Kessler guilty of first-degree murder, and she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For Joleen's family, the verdict brought a sense of justice, though the pain of not knowing where Joleen's remains are still lingers.
So humbling, and you're making it happen.
The search for Joleen's body, unresolved questions. While Kimberly Kessler was convicted of Joleen Cummings' murder, one significant question remains unanswered. Where is Joleen's body? Despite extensive searches in the areas surrounding Fernandina Beach and beyond, Joleen's remains have never been recovered. Kessler has refused to reveal any information about what happened to Joleen after her death, leaving her family without the closure they so desperately need. The mystery of Joleen's final resting place haunts those who loved her, and many hope that one day, the truth will come to light. The psychological profile of Kimberly Kessler. Kimberly Kessler's behavior both before and after the murder has raised many questions about her mental state. Throughout the investigation and trial, she exhibited signs of severe mental health issues, including paranoia, delusions, and erratic behavior. Her ability to live under so many different aliases for years without detection suggests a complex psychological profile. Some have speculated that Kessler may suffer from a personality disorder, while others believe she was fully aware of her actions and deliberately engaged in manipulative and deceptive behavior. The case has prompted discussions about mental health in the criminal justice system and the challenges of dealing with individuals like Kessler, who may present with complex psychological issues. Understanding Kessler's motivations remains difficult, and without more information about her past, much of her behavior will likely remain a mystery.
The salon was supposed to open back up on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. So NCSO investigators were there to talk to this person, to see if she had any information as to the whereabouts of Joleen. She failed to show up for work, and the address that she gave the owner of the shop where she was supposed to be living was a bogus address.
Conclusion: a case that still haunts the Kimberly Kessler case is a chilling reminder of the darker side of human nature and the lengths some individuals will go to conceal their crimes. Despite her conviction, many questions about the case remain unanswered, particularly regarding the whereabouts of Joleen Cummings' body. For Joleen's family and the Fernandina Beach community, the case has left a lasting impact, serving as a tragic reminder of how a person's life can be upended in an instant by violence and deception. Kimberly Kessler's conviction may have brought a sense of justice, but the lingering mystery surrounding Joleen's disappearance and death continues to haunt those involved in the case. As we reflect on this disturbing story, we are reminded that even in cases where justice is served, some mysteries are never fully resolved.